Hello ladies and gentlemen and movie lovers of all kind, and welcome back to another Super Series Tuesday. For today I will be covering the second Mission Impossible film in the Mission Impossible franchise, simply titled Mission Impossible 2. The second Mission Impossible was released in 2000 and was directed by John Woo and stars Tom Cruise, Dougray Scott, and Thandie Newton, or Thandie Newton. I'm not quite sure how you pronounce your name. I'm sorry, Miss Newton. This time around, Ethan Hunt, once again, agent of the IMF, is sent this time to Australia to destroy a new genetically modified disease that's planned on being released into the world called Chimera. Simply, guys, we can just head right into the positives on this one. It's a short list, I'm gonna be honest. First and foremost, Tom Cruise. He is an unbelievable specimen. That might sound a little weird, but it's true. The guy does all of his own stunts. He is super in shape, even now, where the franchise is now in 2018. He's just crazy. Like, he does all of his own stunts. If you've seen some of the stuff that goes on in this movie, it's unbelievable, and he does it all himself. He's just a very versatile actor, and I always enjoy seeing him in almost anything that he's in, so I can't not give him the top spot on the positives of this one. I think he's great, just like he was in the first one. Next is the action in this movie, which you'll see later on again, but in a more negative light. The action is really flashy in this one. They upped the action a lot, because the last one there was only actually like a little bit of action in like the last act. The last one was all kind of like spy movie. This one is like full-blown action, and there's a lot of action. There's a lot of gunfire, there's a lot of explosions, a lot of car chases, and a lot of it is really enjoyable to watch, actually, despite some of it being a little too over the top, which I'll get to later. But the action is very well shot for the most part, and it's, you know, you can understand everything that's going on. And next, and already last on the positives for this movie, is the score to this movie, and that's because it is my favorite composer of all time, Hans Zimmer. It's not one of his more traditional scores that I'm used to, like the Dark Knight trilogy, Interstellar, Inception, so on and so forth. This one's a little different. It was year 2000, so things had to be like cool and awesome and hip and all that stuff. So it's like they even redo like the Mission Impossible theme, like a rock version of it and stuff. So like some of the score at different parts, like more intense moments of the movie, you can see some of that like Dark Knight trilogy aspects kind of coming out there, but a lot of it is really rock styled, and I don't mind that either. So for the most part, I enjoyed the music and the score to this movie overall. So, you know, Hans Zimmer did it again. Now to the middle ground, it's the fact that the movie took a complete 180 in what it was going for. The first movie is pretty much straight spy thriller with little to no action in it at all. It is like a full-blown spy movie. This one is a full-blown action movie with almost little to no spy work in it. Everything's kind of just handed to them, any of the spy work. They just kind of have to go here, go there, and do things, and pretty much everywhere they go, stuff explodes, guns come out, punch kicks, all that fun stuff. Everywhere they go, it's pretty much a full-blown action fest. Some people, this might be their favorite one. Maybe that's what they really wanted in this franchise, and other people who like the more traditional spy version of this movie, like the first one, and wanted that again, this is definitely not it. Now for the negatives. This is the long list. I'm just gonna try to pack them all in as quick as I can, guys. Again, with the action can be good and flashy and fun, but it is extremely over the top. It is so just batshit crazy sometimes. It doesn't make any sense. It stretches the rubber band of believability to the point that it snaps, and then you get a new one, and you snap it again with every new action sequence, because it's insane. Like the punches, the kicks, people survive the most ridiculous things imaginable. There's one part where Tom Cruise is on a motorcycle, and then he hops off, and his 2 feet are on the ground, but he's like standing on the side, still revving the engine, but he's just gliding along the ground. It doesn't make any sense at all. A lot of the action in this movie doesn't make sense. It can be flashy and fun to watch, but if you're trying to think of it in a realistic light, you're just gonna drive yourself crazy. Next, and it's pretty much something I just touched on, but I have to say it, everything explodes. Literally everything in this movie explodes. Every car, every time something is shot, every time, like, it's just like grenades up the ass, just left, right, and center, just throwing them there, everything's blowing up, shooting a canister here, a car flips into another car, everything is just exploding everywhere. I was literally making jokes towards the last half of the movie, and I was just like, oh, that's gonna explode, bang, oh, okay, that, you watch, it's gonna explode, bang. Every single time, everything explodes. Next is it's not really the same characters that you got from the first movie. Now, I can't really speak on later on in the franchise, because that'll come in later reviews, but even just if you went from the first Mission Impossible to this one, there is a huge drastic change in the characters. The only ones that come back are Ving Rhames and, of course, Tom Cruise. Tom Cruise does not feel like the same guy. Ethan Hunt does not feel like the same character as he did in the first one. The first one, he was smart, he knew what he was doing, he had a good head on his shoulders, he was strong-willed, he was just a powerful force to be reckoned with. and he just knew what he was doing. He was a very smart, sophisticated spy. In this one, he's just an insane action hero. Every single time he punches somebody, it's not just like a straight punch. He's like twirling, flipping. I can't count how many times he like twirled and did a cartwheel and kicked somebody, or flipped and kicked them in the face, or jumped in from here and there and did like the flying falcon down on people. I don't know what that is, but it's something. It doesn't make any sense. It's just like, it's ridiculous. It's not at all the same character that you remember from the first one. Now Ving Rhames, again, he just kind of does his hacker stuff, so he's pretty much the same, but he has more gunplay in this one too, and he kind of turns into an action hero, surviving like some explosions and stuff like that too. But it is not the same characters that you got in the first movie. And next is the villain in this movie. The villain is really boring. Dougray Scott, I actually like him as an actor because I know he has talent. I know he's a very good actor, and at some points in this movie he can be, I guess, slightly menacing, and he does have some good emotional moments in this movie, but for the most part, his motives are just bland. Hey, I'm gonna steal the cure to this, and I'm gonna sell the virus to the highest bidder or whatever, or I'll put that out in the world and then he'll sell the cure to the highest bidder or whatever. Just typical villain shit. He's barely in the movie, on all honesty. He's not really in it a whole lot, and when he is, even half the time, then like his little bit of screen time is already chopped in half just from doing like villainy type stuff to just like regular average everyday stuff. So like he really is just a completely lackluster villain. Next is Tom Cruise and Thandie Newton develop a relationship in this movie, and you're led to believe that they care about each other so very passionately, but you don't believe it at all. They literally only meet in the beginning of this movie, and then they just immediately hit it off and are like in love and care about each other and say they're gonna save each other and all that stuff so much, and you literally do not buy into it at all because the relationship has had no time to develop whatsoever. And the next thing too is the story is completely lacking. At least in the first movie there was a bit of like a mouse chase, you know, like, is Tom Cruise the mole? Who's the real mole? And then they're trying to find everything and the spy work and working everything out, and you gotta break in here, there, and all these elaborate plans. This movie, like I said, straight action movie. Hey, this guy has the virus, go and get it from him. It's pretty much it. It's just nothing compared to the first one, really. Like I said, like, how do they go from something that was such a great spy thriller to just something that's this? And there's a lot of corny stuff in this. I'll just go off the one-liners alone. Like, he says it multiple times in the movie. He's just like, oh, balls in your court, this, that, the other thing. Like, there's so many corny moments. At one point, it goes all slow motion. The girl has her scarf on. As it blows away, the guy just like, catches it in slow-mo and wraps around her and pulls her in for a kiss, and it's just so much corny nonsense. It literally, like, any corny moment in this movie literally feels like it was pulled right out of like a straight-up Family Channel awful Disney movie, like a Disney Channel original movie, like made-for-TV movie. It is cringeworthy. It is that bad. And now we're getting into the latter half of this, and almost towards the end. Trust me, guys, just bear with me. Next is the camera work. The camera work is ridiculous in this. Things are tossing, turning. There's so many times that the camera just like looks at one thing, then zooms in on people's faces, and then goes here, zooms in their faces. There, this, the other thing. It twirls around, it jumps with you, it flips around. And there's slow motion in this movie. Why? You can watch this movie and you will wonder, what the hell were they thinking? Because sometimes, yeah, the slow motion can be cool when things are exploding, there's a grenade, there's a bullet time, there's saving someone's life, sure. But there's literally a scene in this movie where it's just birds. Literally. It's just slow motion on birds flying away. And it happens multiple times. And same thing, interwoven with the final fight, it's just all of a sudden, it goes back and forth from them fighting to just slow motion of the waves, just water. I'm not making this shit up. You have to watch it and see it to believe it. Like, at one point, a gun falls onto the ground. It's like, gun to the ground. You see it, and then it's like, whoosh, just zooms right in. I'm like, okay, I saw it fall. You don't need to emphasize it for me. And lastly, there's just a lot of unnecessary stuff in this and a lot of terrible character decisions. Like I said, everything explodes. That's unnecessary. There's another part. They just wanted Tom Cruise to get on a motorcycle. He had long hair in this movie. They wanted just to see him throw in the shades and have the hair fly back, and it's why. Another thing that can be interwoven with this one, along going with the corny stuff in this movie, literally to get to the intro of this movie, it is just Tom Cruise climbing rocks. Then to get his whole mission thing, like, your mission, should you choose to accept it, he puts on a pair of sunglasses, turns to the camera, throws them in slow motion. The sunglasses explode, like, the sunglasses even, yes, explode. And then it goes into the title card, like 10 minutes into the movie. But yeah, in the motorcycle thing again, it's literally just, the guys are chasing Tom Cruise on a motorcycle, and the thing is, they're just chasing him. They're just going around and hitting like dirt piles and doing tricks. But they're supposed to be chasing him and killing him, but not one of them has guns out or even makes any sort of attempt to kill him. They just wanted Tom Cruise to kill them so he can have an excuse to get on a motorcycle. So that's it, guys. I mean, to summarize in this movie, You got Tom Cruise. He's always impressive. He does his own stunts. He's a badass. The action can be very flashy and entertaining despite being really over the top and nonsensical. It's pretty to look at. And the score, Hans Zimmer, he never misses a beat. He doesn't in this one either. It's really well done. The middle ground, again, it goes from spy thriller in the first one to complete just over the top action sequence. The whole movie is just like an action sequence in this one, so that's the midsection for you guys. You can pick and choose which side you're on yourself. And then the negatives. The action is over the top, it's corny, you don't believe in the love story, everything explodes, not the same characters you remember from the first one, the story's lackluster, the villain's lackluster, the camera work is awful, the slow motion is stupid, so many just awful character decisions, as well as just like a lot of unnecessary stuff that it just kind of happens in the movie because, hey, it looks cool. Oh yeah, and everything explodes. So guys, with that being said, I really wanted to like this movie. I wanted to give it something. I was being generous here, trying to give it any points that I possibly could. But guys, Mission Impossible 2 is getting slapped with a 5 out of 10. It's just kind of on that halfway point. Seriously though, what is up with these grand franchises having just these awful sequels? So guys, if you like this video, be sure to like, subscribe, and comment. Let me know. Do you think Mission Impossible 2 was a worthy follow-up? And as always guys, thank you so much for watching. And that's a wrap.